This is the BC700. It's been a good charger. However, some fool tried charging alkalines in it and got leakage into the contact. And any charger that has its contacts damaged, it's pretty much junk, because the contacts have to be good and clean. Once the plating is gone, you're kind of messed up. Anyway, this unit still works, but the display doesn't light up properly. You can barely see what's on it. You have to hold it at a real steep angle to see the numbers. And I just don't trust it anymore. That's the real issue, because it's got corrosion on the contacts. I said it works, but it's had its day, I'm afraid. So I did a lot of checking around on the internet, trying to find out what kind of intelligent charger I'd buy next. I settled on this one, this DLYFULL, mostly because it's got an impedance function. I only found a couple that had that. That can actually measure source impedance of the battery. I'll give you a reading on the internal resistance. And you can compare batteries that way too, of course. And here it is being unboxed. Wow, it came with odd blemishes on the display. It's kind of odd. I thought they were fingerprints, but they don't rub off. It's kind of odd, isn't it? Look like fingerprints, but they're not.
Yeah, it looks like that's been handled.
They must be on the inside of the... That's kind of shitty. Also, this can do not only nickel metal hydrides, but it can also do just about everything else.
One of those universals?
Yeah. It doesn't
I've got one of those.
Won't do alkalines, but it'll do lithiums. So these batteries are highly rated. Yeah, they call them IKEAs, but Lada... supposed to have the lowest impedance, we'll see. I'm also going to put a couple bad batteries in just to see what happens with those. Probably won't even see these batteries are so crappy. Huh. I see one issue with this charger already. The contacts are not ideal for AAAs. Well, I see there's a bump low. So I guess you can manage AAAs if you're careful. Alright, let's see what we got here. I put in two NiCads that are probably pretty bad. But channel 1, we got 1.3. Where's my impedance, I wonder? So 1, 2, 3. It's actually charging those NiCads. 3 is actually a NiCad. 4 is actually a NiCad. It doesn't distinguish between that little difference though. Interesting. So it's giving me a little more data than most. I'm not sure what it all means. I have to go through the manual to see the difference between this milliamp hour. Oh, that's milliamp hours, and this is just milliamps. So that's self-explanatory. It's charging at 20 milliamps. 3 is charging at... I can't believe it's charging at 120 milliamps. That'd be way too much for this little battery. Oh, it's only showing me the 2. It's not showing me 3 and 4. It's giving up on those 2. There it is. Yeah, it's ignoring number 4. Well, there it goes. And just to show that a low ESR isn't everything, I submit these two. These energizers were tortured on that energizer charger I showed you earlier, so they gotta be several years old. They've been laying around dead, fully discharged. This one was fully discharged, wouldn't come back. This one came back eventually on this charger after sitting for almost a day. It started charging it. And then I put them both through a test cycle. So it discharges them to get the real capacity. And you can see both of them are pretty low capacity, but they still have some capacity left to them. After all these years. Sitting at the bottom of my dusty bin, fully discharged, and having been tortured by the battery heater, that other charger. Yeah, originally I bought that pair of batteries for this charger. It's like the third pair I bought for it. Original pair had blue instead of green in them on the artwork. The artwork's probably different nowadays too. But they were pushing the fast charge aspect of this charger, where you could buy these tough cells supposedly, and this thing would zap the hell out of them in a few minutes, and you'd have a pretty fast charge. I forget exactly what the charge rate was. You could charge your batteries in like 4 hours or something like that. But it's a real fast, cruel charge, and it makes the batteries quite hot. I didn't put that many amperes through that thing, actually, until I gave up on it. These are, I want to say these are 5 or 6 years old. So all these FleePow batteries charged. I pulled this one out because it had, well, to make space for this one. This one I got to do the same thing I did the other four. I got to charge it in a dumb charger, or even that Energizer charger. Give it a little head start. Then once they have some voltage on them, this charger will charge them. It's going to be an issue with this charger that I have to not let the batteries go all the way down. They did recover. I mean, a friend of mine said you'd ruin batteries. He's thinking of the lithiums, I think. Like I said, these used to come fully discharged. When they first came out, nickel metal hydrides had quite a bit of leakage. It's only in recent years they've, recent decades I should say, they've gotten better and they come pre-charged nowadays. But they like I said, they used to come totally dead. You had to wake them up a little bit. So the one that charged the most, 2480. These batteries are only 2300 capacity. Of course, that's a little bit of loss, and that's how much they put into the battery. You have to do the full charge-discharge thing to really, and measure it on the discharge, But yeah, the 15, these are all 15, so that's good. None of these have a high impedance. I'll throw some batteries in that have a different impedance, see what happens. Just for example here, 1.4, so yeah, that's end. And I should RTFM and instead of trying to figure it out myself, but in a way, most people don't, so got a guest over playing music. So a couple of them only took a little bit, and then others took a lot more. These two, I cycled twice, and they both took a small charge both times, about 300 each time. But they may come back. Of course, these batteries are old, and I gotta even have an X on one of these batteries, and it even charged. I just wanted to throw some batteries in that are a little different, older, and see what they do. Looking mostly at this resistance, the ESR readings here. See how it does with that. I can see I got a 120 on this old Nuon, and that's kind of bad, even though the battery will probably charge and all. And like I said, if the ESR is high, then you may not, just like the capacitors, you may get a fold on capacity if the ESR is real high. Because sometimes they measure capacity by timing on some units. This one is more sophisticated discharge. It could probably tease that out. But number one, I got a 15, and that's old Eveready. That's charging just fine. And skipped this one. Doesn't even see this one. Ah, shoot. So it seems like most of them, if they're good, they measure 15. And this one's starting to get double that. That's number 3. That's also, that's the Eveready. This Eveready's good. This one's getting kind of high ESR. This ESR is real high. This battery's checked out. I'm going to have to force it. So just going through all these dead batteries, I got this many that I'll have to force. It won't charge. I'll have to force charge them in a different charger to attempt them. But they're getting old. I mean, there's no point in trying to mess around too long with batteries. RTFM. The manual is pretty brief. Describes a few things, and I really should read it more thoroughly. I just skimmed it so I don't miss anything obvious. Go through the basic description of the buttons and stuff. Display, discharge mode, test mode. So it's got these different modes: charge, basic charge mode, discharge, and then charge, I think, and then test. So 3 processes. In test mode, charge is discharge, recharge, and of course details on the screen. So yeah, no big differences there. They got a little flow chart here, so not a whole lot you need to know really. Temperature range you should charge in and all that good stuff. So it's a pretty brief manual. So all in all, it's a good charger. Even worse than the other one, though. This one did that same thing where it wouldn't charge at low battery on the original Lacrosse. But this one's pretty bad. 100 millivolt battery wouldn't even charge that. Force charge them in the Energizer charger, and then after they get warm, I put them in this charger, like I showed, and away I go. But I got these. All these would show as null on this charger, so I'll have to try that on these too. Honestly, some of these are pretty tired. These are probably kind of tired. These new ones, everybody said were great batteries. I didn't really get that good use out of them. These are cheapy Chinese batteries. They're okay. They're not bad. Well, I had 4 batteries in here that were not chargeable. They would just say null on it. I just let it sit there to see what would happen for several hours. And eventually 2 of them did start charging. The other 2 never did start charging. This is one of them. It's up to about 110 millivolts right now. I think it's about threshold. And its mate did charge by itself. This one's mate charged by itself too, and this one still hasn't gotten very high in voltage. May not be chargeable, but I'll probably have to force this in another charger if I want to try to charge it. These EBLs, let me go through them real quick here. Display. I'm mostly interested in the little ESR here. This is in milliohms. And see, this EBL is 20 milliohms. It's not bad. This other one's 28, this little variation. These batteries are pretty old though. I was buying these before I bought all these flea pows, these green and yellows. Now these flea pows have mostly all come back to life after being kind of dormant and dead. No problem charging them back up. Plus they all have 15, as does this is Endoloops, the high power Endoloops variant. So the Endoloop and the the Lada cells with the Kia on them, those were all 15. And also these flea pows were all 15, which is really good. That's as low as this thing seems to resolve, is 15. And these 20s are probably okay too. I had some that go 120, and that's probably about on the way out. So of all these flea pows, I kind of wrote them off as not being great batteries, but they're pretty good. Got real low impedance, pretty decent capacity. The standby time on them is pretty good. It's not as good as an Endoloop or an IKEA for self-discharge. So that's just a little bit on batteries. These Everetys aren't bad. They're not rated for much current, but these are darn old batteries. They've really been tough. I bought a whole bunch of NiCads. They do charge as nickel metal hydrides. They don't identify them separately. Of course, I don't know if they could, but they should charge with the same profile. Pros and cons of this charger. Well, the obvious con is it won't charge a low battery. Even more than the other smart charger I had out. Other cons. Well, this mAh instead of ohms, that's kind of nitpicking, but get used to that. The fingerprints or solvent prints or whatever that were on the back side of this display. The battery's bays are both good and bad. The weak point is they don't really have a way to center the battery too well in a groove. They're not big enough for a C cell. They're wide enough for certain lithium batteries. It's really easy to go crooked in these. They don't really center you unless you have to really put an effort into centering them when you put them in. And it's even worse with the AAAs. They're kind of all over the place until you really got to manually center them. So the manually centering things, that's about it really. There's not a lot of drawbacks other than that and the charge thing. The good things I like is the display. It's nice, bright, clear. Fades to a dimmer level that's not annoying in the dark. So that's kind of cool. Self-fades. You can see that in the dark. It's not going to keep anybody up in their bedroom, I don't think. So I do like all that. I like this seem to be heavy plating on the contact. This also connects as a power source. You can load this up with good batteries or put batteries in and just let them get charged. But you can also use this as a USB power bank. So yeah, you could fill this up with potentially some big lithium batteries. Charge the whole thing up. And then power bank off this thing for a good long time. Which if I was camping or something, it might be an option. Camping this summer and trying to run a fan in a tent all night. So all in all, this didn't cost, an arm and a leg. Pretty good price for what you're getting. I'm not going to throw out my other chargers though, because I'm going to need them occasionally. Now, the reason I've got so many nickel metal hydride batteries is I would only buy cameras for a long time that would take nickel metal hydride AA's, because I figured, hey, I got them, they're fungible, I'm not going to be stuck. I always have to have more spare batteries around for shooting and stuff. So that was my thing for a while. But then the last 3 cameras I bought all had, finally had to give up on that feature in a camera, being able to run off of AA cells. So now I'm buying cameras with lithium batteries, the last 3 cameras pretty much. All lithium powered. So I've got a big collection of these AA cells that are really mostly in disuse. But I still have one camera that I'll take AA's. My first camera I was using actually, so I don't really use it anymore. And this guy takes those Lada batteries I've been saving for this guy, my audio recorder. And lastly, I was going to retire this unit, and I probably would have kept it around, but now I've got a good reason to throw it out. What did I do? I grabbed the wrong power pack for it. Sitting right near it was a power pack I assumed went with it, and just grabbed it and plugged it in. Bam! See this cap puffed up. Yeah, I plugged a 12 volt pack into it, and it only takes like a 3 volt pack. You can even see a little dot in the chip here, I think. A lot of this here, this corrosion, was all from battery leakage, and I had it pretty much cleaned out. It stripped, you know, the green paint off the PC board, the solder mask. That's all it takes to make one of these. And now my display was going bad on this one. Maybe I could have played with the zebra strip a little bit more and tried to jiggle things around and got it to work again. I don't know. It's too late now, though. It's history now. Meow.